Listen up, because what's about to go down at Hollis Hall is going to define the rest of our season. If you thought the loss to Baltimore was rock bottom, I'm here to tell you that what's coming this week is way more important. We've got a decision that can't wait another day. A brutal injury that just flipped our entire defensive line upside down. And I've got something to say about our rookie quarterback that nobody wants to admit. But we're all thinking it after what Justin Fields did this Sunday. If you think this is just another week of Bears football, you're dead wrong. This is the week where Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson are going to show us what they're really made of. Stick around till the end, because we're talking about decisions that can't miss. A rookie we just lost for the whole season, and the pressure that's piling up on the shoulders of our quarterback of the future. Smash that like button right now if you're ready for the truth. And hit subscribe, because this week is going to be historic for the Bears. The clock's ticking, and Ryan Poles has until Tuesday to make a call he should have made 3 weeks ago. Austin Booker, our second-year defensive end, has been fully healthy, practicing without restrictions since October 7th. And Ben Johnson and his staff have kept him riding the bench, while our D-line falls apart game after game. Let me ask you this, how in the world do we have a guy fully cleared, practicing full speed, and we don't activate him while we're watching Dominique Robinson and Shamar Turner go down in Baltimore? Can someone explain the logic here? Because I'll tell you this, when they opened that 21-day window on October 7th, the message was loud and clear. Booker's ready to help. But then the Commanders come and go. The Saints come and go. Baltimore comes and goes. And Booker's still on the sideline, watching this team desperately needing more pressure on the quarterback. And now, after what happened Sunday, the Bears have nitrogen monoxide choice. Booker's window closes this Tuesday. Either they activate him, or he goes back to injured reserve for the rest of the season. And with Dominique Robinson out week to week with a sprained ankle, and the devastating news about Shamar Turner we'll get to in a second, Chicago has to activate Booker. But here's what really gets me. Why did it have to come to this? Why did it take TWO injuries for us to finally do the obvious? Ben Johnson said 2 weeks ago he was comfortable with the guys he had. Well, how comfortable are you now, Ben? Because after watching Tyler Huntley, a guy who was on a practice squad, last week light up our defense with zero pressure, maybe it's time to admit we needed that reinforcement 3 weeks ago. Austin Booker weighs 145 pounds. Lighter than Turner, more of a pass rusher than a run stopper, but you know what? Right now, we need pressure on the quarterback more than anything else. We've seen Caleb Williams struggle because our defense can't get the other quarterback out of the pocket. We've seen endless drives because we can't force third and longs. And here's the cruel irony. The Bears have an open spot on the 53-man roster since Saturday. We don't need to cut anyone. We don't need to shuffle anything. Just sign the papers and activate Booker. So I ask again, what are we waiting for? A sign from the heavens? A third defensive end to go down? This is the first real test for this new regime. Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson have talked a big game about doing things differently and building a winning culture. Well, part of that culture is making tough calls before you're forced to. Austin Booker's going to be activated Tuesday because there's literally no other option. But the real question we should all be asking is, why did it take this long? And speaking of forced decisions, we've got to talk about the most heartbreaking news of the week. Shamar Turner, our second-round pick, the rookie who was finally finding his place in this defense, tore his ACL on Sunday in Baltimore. Season over. I can't believe we're even having this conversation. I can't believe a kid who just 2 weeks ago was solving our run defense issues is now scheduling surgery. And looking ahead to the 2026 season, let me give you some context on why this one hurt so bad. When we drafted Shamar Turner in the second round out of Texas A&M, we knew he was a project. A 283-pound defensive tackle with the versatility to play N2. But early in the season, Turner looked lost. He wasn't making an impact. Then, against Washington, the coaching staff made a brilliant move. They shifted Turner from defensive tackle to defensive end, and guess what happened? The Commanders, the best rushing offense in the league, were held to 124 yards. Turner was a key part of that adjustment. The next week against New Orleans, we gave up just 4 rushing yards, 44. And Turner was a wall on that side of the formation. Ben Johnson said it best after hearing the news. We felt like, when he made that move to defensive end, it lined up with our ability to stop the run at a higher level. We thought he was part of the solution. He was part of the solution, and now he's gone. So let me ask you this. How do you replace the 183 pounds of physical presence on the edge? How do you replace a guy who was just starting to figure out the NFL and show why he was a second-round pick? The answer is, you don't. Not completely. Now, Austin Booker's going to have to carry more weight than we expected. Dayo Odeyingbo, who's been rotating between end and 3 tech, probably has to stay out on the edge more. Grady Jarrett, who just came back from a knee injury, is going to have to take on more snaps inside. And here's what really worries me. Shamar Turner wasn't just a physical player. Ben Johnson talked about his mindset, about how much he loves football, about how he approaches the game the right way. That kind of presence in the locker room, especially from a rookie, is priceless. Now we've lost that for the rest of the year, and yeah, Austin Booker is a better pass rusher than Turner. At 245 pounds, he's quicker, more explosive off the edge, but against teams like Detroit, against Minnesota with Aaron Jones, against Green Bay when Christian Watson and their receivers are blocking on the perimeter, we needed those 283 pounds of Shamar Turner setting the edge. I think this injury completely changes how we have to approach the rest of the season. And this is where Ryan Poles has to earn his paycheck. The trade deadline is November 4th. That's in 8 days, and now, with Shamar Turner out and Dominique Robinson week to week, we need help on the defensive line more than ever. Are we going to hit the market? Are we going to make a move? Or are we going to trust that Booker, Odeyingbo, Jarrett, and the rest can carry the load? This week we face Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, Ja'Marr Chase, T. Higgins, an offense that can drop 30 points in a heartbeat. And yeah, their defense is trash, but if we can't stop Burrow, we're in a shootout. And after what we saw from Caleb Williams against Baltimore, do we really want to be in a shootout? Shamar Turner's going to recover. He's going to attack rehab the right way, like Johnson said. But for this season, for these 2025 Bears who are 4-3 and fighting for a playoff spot, we just lost a major piece of the puzzle. Now we've got to talk about the elephant in the room. We've got to talk about Caleb Williams, Justin Fields, and the pressure that just got cranked up to 10 this past Sunday. While Caleb Williams was struggling against Baltimore, putting up a performance Pro Football Focus called ice cold, Justin Fields was in New Jersey leading the Jets to their first win of the season. And he did it against Cincinnati, the same Cincinnati we're facing this Sunday. Let me ask you this. How do you think Caleb Williams feels knowing the quarterback Chicago traded away to draft him just had one of the best games of his career against the team he's about to face in 6 days? Because I'll tell you this, the pressure on Caleb right now is massive. Justin Fields didn't put up MVP numbers. 21 of 32 for 204 yards and a touchdown. But you know what he had? Control. He commanded the offense. He led an epic game-winning drive. He looked like a veteran quarterback who knew exactly what he was doing. Meanwhile, Caleb Williams is making the same mental mistakes week after week. The same late reads. The same questionable decisions. The same issues we thought a generational quarterback wouldn't have. Now before you light up the comments, let me be clear. The Bears made the right call trading Fields and drafting Caleb Williams. 100%. Fields had a great game Sunday. But 2 weeks ago he finished the game with -10 net passing yards. -10. Justin Fields was never going to be the future in Chicago. That's just facts. And this is a big but, Caleb Williams was drafted to be better than Fields from day one. He was drafted to be the answer to decades of quarterback mediocrity. He was drafted to be the guy who takes us to the Super Bowl. And after 8 weeks, after performances like Baltimore and New Orleans, fans are starting to ask some uncomfortable questions. I think this game against Cincinnati is the biggest game of Caleb Williams' young career. It's not just another game. It's a statement. Because if Justin Fields can light up this Bengals defense of a quarterback Chicago decided wasn't good enough can look like an all-pro against them, then what excuse does Caleb Williams have not to dominate this game? Cincinnati's defense is terrible. They're giving up points like candy on Halloween. This is the kind of game where a number 1 overall pick should be throwing for 350 yards and for touchdowns with his eyes closed. And if Caleb comes out and has another mediocre outing, if we see more of the same mental errors, more late reads, more lack of command, then the conversations in Chicago are going to get real uncomfortable. I don't want it to come to that. I believe in Caleb Williams. I think he's got the talent to be special. But talent alone doesn't cut it in the NFL. You need consistency. You need command. You need to elevate the guys around you. And so far, in 8 weeks, we've seen flashes of greatness mixed with way too many moments of mediocrity. Ben Johnson is reaching his breaking point with the mental mistakes. You can see it in the pressers. You can see it in his body language. And if Caleb Williams can't clean this up now against one of the worst teams in the league, then when will he? This Sunday isn't just Bears versus Bengals. It's Caleb Williams versus expectations. It's Caleb Williams versus the shadow of Justin Fields. It's Caleb Williams versus the narrative that maybe, just maybe, Chicago got it wrong. I don't think they got it wrong. But Caleb needs to prove they didn't, and he needs to prove it on Sunday. So let me ask you this. Bears Nation, are you ready to finally see Austin Booker take the field after 3 weeks of waiting? Do you think Ryan Poles is going to make a move before the trade deadline to replace what we lost with Shamar Turner? And most importantly, do you believe Caleb Williams is going to step up against Cincinnati and silence all the doubt? Because I'm telling you right now, this week is going to define the rest of our season. Either we rise up and show we're a legit playoff team, or we fall back into the same patterns of mediocrity we've seen for years in Chicago. I believe this team has what it takes. I believe Booker's going to spark our pass rush. I believe we'll find a way to make up for Turner's loss. And I believe Caleb Williams is going to come out Sunday and remind everyone why he was the #1 pick. But I can't do this alone. I need you, the best fan base in the NFL, to ride with me. Drop your takes in the comments. What moves should Poles make before the deadline? Are you giving Caleb one more week, or are you already worried? Is Booker the missing piece on defense? If you're with me, if you believe in these Bears like I do, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to the channel, because I promise you we've got more explosive news coming this week. We're covering every move, every decision, every snap, because this isn't just a YouTube channel. This is family. This is the most passionate Bears community on the internet. And when we win, when we finally bring a championship back to Chicago, I want every single one of you here to celebrate it with me. So join the family. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell so you don't miss a thing. And get ready, because Sunday against Cincinnati is going to be special. Bear down, Chicago. I'll see you in the next video.